Yes, what's good, people? My name's Sun, and I'm here to give you a little track breakdown of my latest single, Right Here, Right Now, with Mia Albel, which is out now on Device Records. Let's start by just listening sort of to the build-up and the drop, and we'll break it down.
Right here, right now, I'm taking numbers, but I'm numb and I feel like a mess. Make it make sense. Right here, right now. Function
Alright, so that gives you a little idea of the track. You can go and listen to it in all the usual places if you want to hear it in full. Somehow I was very organized on this project, as you can see. So let's start at the top and work our way down, starting with the drums. These are the drums soloed here in all their glory. So by the looks of it, what I've got here is 2 drum breaks. Probably because, well, slightly, I don't know. I've kind of grouped them differently, as you can see. Let's listen to this one. Okay, interesting. This is where I find out all the weird things I did in my project. So we've got these down here. Kind of lo-fi sounding drums. Which I guess, in the context of things, I'll just give it a little bit extra beef. I spent a good 3 years sitting on this track, and the biggest part that I wasn't happy with were the drums. So I probably came back and just beefed them up in some sort of way because they were feeling a little bit flat. So we'll have to see. Anyway, so the drums consist of this kick. Tightened it up. This snare, which is 2 snares, and I think if I'm right, got this high layer, and then this sort of more body-y layer, which I have compressed for some reason. I've also got rid of the attack, so it's like not as transient apparently. And I do remember this, I made it wide with gem mod, so let's listen to that with and without. It's right down the middle. I made it wide. I was just experimenting, trying something new. Got rid of some of the lows, and I've clipped it as well. This is what it sounds like without it being wide. See, I think just in the context of a mix, I wanted it to kind of be a little bit more full, a little bit less mono. It's probably not the right thing to do, but hey, don't hate me. So here are the percussion. So they're keeping it pretty moving. We've got a think break here. Bit of EQ, bit of transient shaping, taking a bit of the sustain off, soothe, making sure none of those harsher sort of like that sounds are coming through. Got this SSL channel, which I quite like using. It's the E channel. I quite like using typically, not in how I've used it here, but typically pushing the highs. I find it's a nice way to push that sort of like, is it the bell curve at the top, or not a bell curve? You know what I'm saying. The bit at the end, just pushing that up with this. I find it just can make it up, sounds a bit more organic. I've got some crazy EQ here. Gem mod again, giving a little bit of width. EQ again, and LFO tool. This was a project where I was really going for the LFO tool for side chaining. I've since changed my ways, but I was using it to just make sure none of those kicks and snares are being interrupted with the actual beefy ones. This shuffle, this is just like a splice shuffle. Polar and Bryson, everyone's using it. Similar processing again, I can see here. Another Polar and Bryson break. Again, width. Apparently width is what I was going for. got this, which is really on the sides, really on the sides. So this is, what is that then? It's in mid-side mode, so I'm obviously pushing the mids down here to make it really sidey. And another think break. They're all very quiet in the mix. A lot of gem mod giving some of that width and EQ'd crap. But in the context of all of the drums, it just fills it all out. I've got this nice little roller here, which is just think break snare, just going up, which I think adds a little bit of interest. And then probably my favorite sort of change in the drums, and maybe actually the only change in the drums, is literally just, I think it's just a shaker being added in. Yeah, so I took out this shuffle and replaced it for another think break. Oh, and let's see what I've done here. Transient. I've given myself more sustain, which is interesting, and a bit of attack, which is nice. I guess opening it up, making it a bit more of like a as opposed to and gem mod, boom. And apparently I wasn't happy with those frequencies there. But I like the sound of the drum shift here, especially because it's where her verse comes in. Yeah. It's like the whole drums still have that same shuffle, even though I've taken out that kind of like quick, but like that sort of, it almost slows it down with this sort of like chugging sort of shuffle. And then we've got a little nasty splice fill there. So those are the drums. The build, as you can imagine, is just a low-passed version of it all. Yeah, using just the auto filter. And, oh, let's look at the drum bus. Didn't realize it did some stuff on the drum bus here. So we've got some filters here, which are just for the movements. SSL channel, doing exactly what I was just talking about, actually. Boosting ever so slightly that higher end, giving it a little bit more clarity. We've got a saturator, which is definitely giving loudness. I should really balance the loudness with, you know, drive and output, but obviously I liked what it was doing there. We've got some isotope trash. Again, it's definitely creating loudness, which I don't have a problem with, because obviously it's in the context of the mix now where it's sitting where I want it. But honestly, on all my drums, I chuck isotope trash on it, on the output of the drums, and just give it a little bit of a curve there. Just a nice way to saturate the drums. Okay, so here we go. Now I'm doing some sort of audio effect rack. So we've got the dry signal, and we've got the slam signal. So this is a little trick I learned from Slater on his Patreon. Big shout out to Slater, production goals there. Transient master, pulling the attack all the way down and the sustain all the way up. So it's what it's essentially doing is getting rid of that noise and flattening it out. And instead of shortening it, so it's like, it's going up, you know? Not up, it's kind of pulling the tail up. And what that gives is this almost like, it's kind of like sidechain, what do you call it? Like parallel compression, where you give it that real like hard punch without it. But what's nice about that, okay, so again, yeah, take out some of the lows. I've also compressed it. I'm using the kick and the snare as a trigger for the sidechain here to make sure that the kick and snare is still coming through real nice and clean. But when it's in the context of the mix, so take it out and then just, take it out and then just dial it in. Oh, what have I done here? So sorry, so sorry. Here you go. You know, so it's just dialing it in exactly where you kind of need it. And it just adds that little bit of like, fills it out. Got soothe, pretty heavy soothe here. I guess selectivity is up quite high, but it's just getting rid of those like harsher frequencies. There's obviously a lot of like old school breaks in here. Got a Camel Crusher, which doesn't actually open properly, but I think that is, I was using that as a limiter. I know, those are the drums. Wow, that took a while, hey? Okay, let's move down to melody. I honestly, so long ago now, I don't remember how this was written, but I do know that the key part of this track is obviously this sound. Which in Serum is lead underscore brass back, apparently. Almost certainly a preset, which I would have tweaked in some ways or just sort of apparently added a crap ton of stuff to. So this is the melody part sort of soloed on its own. So we've got that main bass there, and then this one here. Oh, okay, so this is actually more of like just the patch on its own, which I've obviously decided to layer in, keep it really quiet. Couldn't tell you why. We've got this layer, which is the sub. Completely monoed. Which is this preset. Definitely from Splice, can tell you that. It's an intro drone. Maybe. I don't know. Sounds cool though. Don't know what I've done there. This definitely has low end as well. So it's probably 2 low ends doing some muddy stuff there, but I'm discovering it as I'm talking to you. So we've got a compressor here, sidechaining the kick. We've got an EQ on this. This is definitely the main bass sound. An EQ boosting up that sort of 100 hertz and tailing off some of the high end. We've got a reverb, adding a bit of reverb in. We've got I don't know, maybe there's no. I don't know. This is cutting off the low end apparently. We've got this compressor that I seem to just be using a lot there at that time. I was using this as well at the time. This is interesting. I was using this as a multiband compressor. I'll be honest, this was experimental. I was just kind of using it in a way to like tame parts. I remember this bass feeling very pokey in certain areas. So like the stab would come in and then there'd be a bit of high end. I kind of wanted it to just feel a bit more of like one solid meaty sound, if that makes sense. Probably doesn't. I've then decided to get rid of the low end completely again. Honestly, this is ridiculous. There's obviously a lot of rumble going on at the low end because I'm using Soothe to also get rid of that there. Transient shaping, giving it a transient. Interesting. I wanted that like stab. Some more EQ, gem mods turned off, filtering, more EQ again, OTT. Just pulling it out. What I'm going to say now, the disclaimer on this is I do remember this being a bit of a labor of love of just like having the idea, the bass sitting in a way that I wanted. I worked with Mia. And then when it came to the mix down, I was fighting to make things sit where they wanted to sit. You know, this is 3 years ago, so I've learned a lot since then. Yeah. Anyway, then we've got this pad here. Filtering in. Reverb. It's just a sample. Nice detuned pad. Kind of opening up and then it stops again. And this is maybe one of my favorite parts in that sort of bass synth sound. Got this sound. Got this sound. I'll talk about these sounds in a minute, but that sort of higher pitch, sort of almost like string sound coming in, just kind of like makes it feel like a next sort of moment. And then we go to this section. This is the verse. Which is copied from the intro. So let's go back to the intro here. So the intro is this. So it's made up of these 2 quantas. So this is the first one. which is a sample. This is a sample, most likely from Splice. But I do this quite a lot, where I pull in a sample from Splice, and then instead of just having that sample play out, I use Quantit, which is a granular synthesis, to just sort of loop one section and create a pad that way. It feels a little bit less like I'm stealing something. Not that there's any problem with using Splice samples, but it feels a little bit like it's my own. And I've got the grains length up quite high with the random up on the length and the random up on position. So it's kind of playing in this section here. And that's creating that nice drone sort of sound, which I've then done another one here. Just a different sample in the right key. Pretty much the same settings. But that creates my two like beds, you know. And it doesn't look like there's anything happening other than some reverb and a bit of stereo width. This one is the same, apart from I've EQ'd a lot of the highs and lows, reverb, stereo, and then I'm filtering it in as well with the auto filter. So that's sitting underneath everything. And then on top, to give a little bit of interest, I've got these samples, which you can see I've got the automation, I've got the volume just kind of going woo like that, with a nice long reverb on it, getting rid of the lows, and that just creates this kind of like swell sort of moments. This one's quite cool. It's like a stab sort of sound, kind of more from the envelope shaping I've done there. I've got this. Again, just a sample, loads of reverb. Same here. And being honest, at the time, that was just a really nice way to make an intro. It's an easy way to be like, I kind of had all this here, and I was like, I just want to create that intro sound. So creating a pad, creating a little bit of atmosphere. That's how I did that. So then, so these are all unused here. Well, they're unused. Keys apparently I started with, they're unused. Then is this an ARP here, perhaps? Got that really quiet in the background. That's just an arpeggio of this pluck violin sound. Again, probably from Splice, but it's just playing these chords, which are the chords that I think I started the whole track with. Now I come to think of it. But it's just nice. It's in the right key. It's got that RP sound again. Width, apparently width is key here, and taking a lot of the low, but it's very quiet in the mix, but it just kind of fills it out. And then we've got the intro pads again here. And then, yeah, it's a bit of a copy paste sort of jobby here into the next section. What is this? Something I've made where I've just played much higher than I was expecting. Can't even hear it. What's the point of that bit in there? Oh, then we got this. Rudely interrupted by Marlana. Then we got this, which is just creating tension. Again, very quiet in the mix. A lot of this is so quiet that you're going to have headphones on to hear what's going on. Right, then we move down into the bass. Oh, here we go. This explains a lot of why I was getting rid of all the lows. So this is the bass soloed. All right. I feel like I'm starting to understand my own project now. So we got what I've labeled here as sub, which I'm imagining is just going to be a sub. It's just a basic, oh, apparently, no, this one's off, this one's on. So it's just a basic sine wave, just creating that fundamental sub at the bottom. I've got the LFO tool doing the side chaining, as I said I was doing earlier. We've got this harmonic bass, which is the same again, but with width, distortion, EQ, OTT, giving it a little bit more something, you know, in the sort of harmonic-y sort of area. Sounds like that, but then EQ'd. So in context with this sub, just gives it a bit of beef. And it looks Reese. which I almost certainly made, because this is a classic me move where I've taken out the fundamental in the wave here. 9 unison, distortion, reverb. It's just a bit of messing around, a low pass. And it almost sounds like it's got a flanger on it. Has it got? No. Just obviously it's sort of distorting against itself. Low passed with this filter, which might even be automated. Yeah, it opens up at the end. Great bit of movement. Got rid of the sub, because obviously I've got the sub here. Compressor for the kick. Another filter, which I'm using. Okay, interesting. I obviously wanted it to feel a bit more stabby. So instead of just doing that in the patch, so if you listen to that, actually, it's kind of like one, but I want it to go like, like that. So I've done that with this filter. I remember this now, actually, and I don't think it's on the whole thing. No, it's not. I remember this. I remember doing that thing. That sounds really cool, especially for that section, and then I scrapped it for the rest. So, hey, have unique moments to your track. I was crazy harsh EQing that. Obviously, some frequencies I absolutely hated. Some soothe to get rid of that lower end, and LFO tool again. Almost certainly doing some sidechaining. So that's the sub. That's the Reese. Sorry. And then at the end of the phrase, I've got this wobble, which is just 2 sine waves. Sun wobble 2. There you go. 2 sine waves. One with the fine tune all the way up, and a little bit of distortion. Hard clip just to give it a bit of harmonic. Apparently I've compressed that as well. They're often quite like, if you play higher notes, they sound higher, or sound louder, sorry. Lower notes are quieter, so often the compression kind of flattens that out. So if you're playing higher notes, it'll flatten that out. But I'm almost certain I don't play anything higher than that one note. And I can see here, I've actually sent it to this send here, which I think I've also apparently done. Have I? Yeah, I've also done it on the sort of main synth stab. And this, I made once just for not for fun. Yeah, for fun. Screw it. It's got saturator, gem mod for width, and then an EQ for low pass. And my idea was that if something was lacking, so I could just send it in there. It gives it a bit of width and a bit of grit. And if we listen to this with and without, it kind of does. Okay, moving on. We got this extra bass here. Love this one. Love that one. That is glide bass, which definitely stole it from somewhere, and then I definitely saved it as glide bass because I changed something. But we got these 2 analog BD signs creating this sort of harmonic sort of sound. It's really nice. Compressor, filter, notch filter. Yeah, definitely from the preset. I don't really know what's going on there, but I love it. And in the context, I love how it kind of like, it feels like it ends the phrase. Kick sidechain, LFO doing the exact same thing. Don't need both, and getting rid of the lows because obviously got the sub there. So the only other bass to talk about is this intro Reese, which just feels really nice. So in the context of the track, got the intro, and then it drops into her vocal.
Right here, right now.
So that's great. And that is Reese 1, made by myself. It's just 6, whatever of that, distortion, compression, reverb, filter. I'm rattling through it now a little bit, and it's got an auto filter, so it doesn't sound like that. So that is the bass section. Now we move on to vocals, which is arguably the most important part of this track. I'll just show you it in sort of like sections here. So this is the pre-drop sort of verse.
Right here, right now. Please don't talk to me, and I don't mean no disrespect. Function highbrow. You can't make it make sense when I'm in distress.
I mean, just sick, isn't it? So Lead vocal hasn't got anything on it here, and then there's this lead here, which is an affected,
Right here, right now.
yeah, distortion, using this little radiator, and some H delay there on full wet apparently, which is kind of mad, using a sort of EQ like this. So it's more of like an affected layer, but I really wanted that like distorted vocal sound. I think it really suited that sort of like the angsty sound to her vocal. We've got a de-esser here,
Right here, right now. Please
which
don't talk to
is
me, and I don't mean no disrespect.
just taking off a couple of those like sibilant sort of areas. EQ, getting rid of the lows, don't need any of that. We've got this compressor. I was obviously trying out this compressor a lot. Female vocal preset, boom. Reverb.
Right here, right now. Please don't talk to me, and I don't mean no disrespect.
Happy with that reverb, giving it a nice space. Saturate again for that
Right here,
distortion
right now. Please don't talk to
and loudness. The E channel again, giving that high end, as I spoke about there.
right here, right now.
And I was playing originally with this chorus,
Right here, right now. Please don't talk to me, and I don't mean no disrespect.
but I voted against it. Soothe, getting rid of some of the harshness, and EQ, kind of doing some
Talk
dynamic
to me,
EQ,
and I don't mean.
make it sit a little bit better. So that's that vocal, and then this one's kind of probably the most affected.
Right here, right now. Function highbrow.
So we've got the same affected vocal with the radiator, H delay, and then this EQ sort of creating that
Right here, right now.
vibe. We got this one, which is panned off to the right, apparently, with we'll leave that off for now. Isotope vinyl.
Right here, right now.
You know, bit of reverb on there. Apparently that was what I wanted at the time. And then we got the lead again.
Right here, right now.
Which isn't the lead this time. This is the one with the delay. H delay, pretty high up, giving that nice sort of like delay effect. We've got track spacer
Right here, right
doing, oh, is it because it's all off?
now. Right here, right
No, doing nothing, right? Little radiator giving like a lot of distortion, and then this effect. Again, this is one of those things, it's layered. So in the context of the track, it just, for me, it sits really nice.
right here, right now.
All right. And then we've got her verse here.
And I don't like to call you bluff, but you're making me feel like I'm crazy. Holding.
Same as the sort of intro vocal. And then underneath, the sort of second 16 is these ad-libs. Slam throated T, got the vinyl effect on. This one is on of quite a low setting. Yeah, demo, I know. Which is kind of, if I turn it off, it's giving that sort of downgraded sound. Lots of reverb here to kind of give it space, and soothe to get rid of the harshness. And to be honest, that's kind of it. There's not really much else to it. It just kind of develops from there. But thank you, Mia, for making this the track that it is. And then we've got the effects, ending on a slightly boring part. We've got white noise. So it's a Serum preset, white noise. That one's off, or more white noise, that one's off. These little risers. Vocal risers, love a vocal riser, got this. Backwards white noise. To be honest, you kind of get it, that's kind of it. Just trying to create a bit of movement. What's this here? Yeah, it was into these sort of like dub sounds. Just think it sits nice there in the mix. And that's just copied and pasted, to be honest. I'm not going to go too crazy on the effects because it is basically white noise samples going backwards and forwards. But there you have it. That is the track breakdown for Right Here, Right Now. As I said before, it's out now on all your favorite places to get music. And it would mean a lot if you support it, listen to it, shared it with people. We love making this one. And, 3 years has passed, so it's been a little while. Thanks for bearing with me. Hope this was helpful. I'll see you on the next one.